hello there. You're listening to America's Voice right here, right now. We're in our final segment, and if you're just joining us, you missed a great show today. But never fear. We have a listen line that you can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and hear the last show that we recorded. So if you were to call 415-325-0725 anytime after about 9 o'clock this morning on the 20th of February, you will be able to hear the entire program at your leisure. And if you have a cell phone, or an NSA tracking device, as I like to call them, then you would be able to, with an unlimited phone plan, then you would be able to listen at your leisure through a headset or maybe on speaker, and you'd be able to listen on a home phone, in your car, however you like. Again, it's 415-325-0725. That particular number is given to us by a company by the name of Audio Now, who records every program that we do and makes it available to listeners who want to listen to radio by phone. How cool is that? And they don't charge us a red cent. They don't charge you either. That's really cool. All right. You can also find us and every program that we do on YouTube. You guys have been asking me repeatedly to not place all of the segments into a single 2-hour YouTube video. I get it. Most of us don't have 2 hours to donate or designate to anything. We're all busy running around trying to make sure that we're doing our part to keep our families alive while our lifeblood is sucked out of us and leached out of us by abusive state and federal governments so that they can distribute your money to the best of their ability. Well, so what I've done is I've gone back to the idea where we will place each segment into its own video. And that should make it easier for you guys, especially if you want to forward one on to a friend because one particular segment you thought was valuable to somebody that, you were having a discussion with last week about the same thing, and you say, hey, check out this guy. He's got a good point on this topic. So I'm actually, in a circuitous way, asking you to please share these videos. Because, quite frankly, I know that YouTube is blocking them. And they don't cut them off and censor them, but they block access to them. Because there is no way that I could do a stupid dog trick and get 2 million views on YouTube, but this program, which operates every day, on average, hits around 200. Something's desperately wrong with that picture. I mean, I get it. I'm not a very handsome guy, and so most people are out there, not wanting to look at me, and that's fine. But we put it up on a audio feed as well, and that gets, believe it or not, quite a few listens. So maybe that's it. And I know I'm controversial, and I know that I'm aggressive, and I know that sometimes I'm just plain flat out mean. It's okay. The truth of the matter is that there's no way that all of those videos, none of them, get more than an average of a few hundred. I mean, there's a couple that have gone up into the few thousand. But for the most part, YouTube does an enormously successful job of blocking access to those videos. So in a roundabout way, I'm saying, why don't you make it go viral? Send out an email with a link. Invite your friends. Invite your enemies. Invite your church members. Invite the people that you work with. Those people who are in your circle of influence. Do I look like Nixon when I do that? Let me make it perfectly clear. Anyway, please join us on YouTube, because the more views it gets, the more it generates, and, you know, these guys have a habit of trying to make sure that we're not really seen. And I know this is radio on video, and that's a little disconcerting to some people. I'm sitting here with these stupid black headphones on, which today, by the way, only one is working, which is why you've seen me kind of a little mentally scrambled. Only one is listening, or auditorily producing, and it's a little disconcerting. Anyway, I digress. I know this is a very strange mood for me today. But it's Thursday, and the week is almost over. And boy, I can't wait for tomorrow. So, Kathleen Sebelius and the HHS have made an announcement that they want to gain access to full Twitter historical data. Really? Is there any of these tyrannical little Hitlerites, you know, these little Pol Pot mini-me's, these little unconstitutional, no excuse for existence administrative agency heads, that doesn't have a power complex? That doesn't want to have their own little personal spy agency? Their own personal HQ? This makes total sense to me, of course, because I want to give spy capability to the most inept and corrupt and failure-laden woman in the entire administration. I mean, what could go wrong? Right? You know, Kathleen Sebelius, she's right up there with Hillary and Dirty Harry. When I see her picture, I grit my teeth. Because I look at her as a person who lives on blood. The blood of the hardworking average American. And it's not enough that she draws it and drinks it, but this woman actually injects it through an IV. It wasn't bad enough that she was in charge of Health and Human Services, which was already an extra constitutional agency that was far overreaching any authority that it may have even granted itself. But she got a hold of Obamacare and latched onto it like a pit bull. And now we're all stuck with it. The brainchild of her and Dirty Harry. And they're seeking a social media analytic tool that will give the government access to, quote, the full Twitter historical data. They're looking for a future acquisition to provide near real-time social media analysis so that they can monitor public health issues. Let's just think about that for a minute. So, ostensibly, people who are sick are going to take to their Twitter feed and say, I think I've got the HNN1 flu virus, got it from my chickens out in the backyard, and I'm not feeling good. You gotta be kidding me. There's a whole long laundry list of the requirements for this particular project, including, quote, I mean, only a damn fool tyrant-minded individual could come up with this statement. Access to real-time social media posts and access to the full Twitter fire hose. Nothing would please me more than to see Kathleen bite down on that fire hose and one of us be able to flip the switch on. Sickening. And they didn't stop there. They want to go back 5 years. And they need access to multiple account logins. Huh? Real-time alerting. So we can identify when a health crisis strikes Twitter. And the ability to construct lengthy Boolean searches. Wow. You know what a Boolean search is? For those of you that aren't into data, Boolean searches are the ones that are utilizing algorithms like and, or, and if, right? So I want all the people that use Twitter that use the word government and Republican and whatever, or Democrat. If sent from a conservative feed. And then they narrow that down from the billions of Twitter messages out there in the Twitterverse, and they would have themselves a nice little database of dissidents. They also want to be able to search for the physical location of that Twitterer. Now, they assure us that it's only for public health concerns. I mean, you know, we should believe everything that Kathleen tells us because she's been so honest with us in the past, right? But then she interjects, and other emergencies such as Superstorm Sandy. I mean, I had no idea. I thought FEMA was in charge of national emergencies like Superstorm Sandy. I mean, let's be candid, they didn't really do a very good job at that. But since when is Health and Human Services, the lead agency, unconstitutional, extra-constitutional, with no authority to exist, in charge of national emergencies? It goes on to say, in the midst of an event, we want to know when hospitals and or nursing homes are evacuating patients. And they want to find out when there are scenarios of how we would utilize this tool. So let's see. Let's spend a few $1 billion and let's determine what kind of slim, virtually transparent excuses we can give to be able to abuse the public trust one more time with one more massive surveillance spying system. I get it. We'll get Kathleen to step up there and say, we need this to monitor health issues. And Kathleen steps right up and says, we conduct ongoing monitoring of certain public health issues. An increase in the level of discussion on social media could indicate a new development or a concern that's related to that issue. Ugh. I'm tired of people who think we're so flippin' stupid that we would fall for this. When is America going to realize that every one of these incidents, every one of these overreaches and abuses and intrusions, these are border crossings into the sovereignty of freedom and liberty. And this government that we currently have, whether state or federal, is no different than an illegal alien who violates our border. And it's time that America began to look at them that way. You see, our sovereign border is our ability to live free of government oppression and intervention and abuse and misconduct, the stealing and the theft of our resources and our time and our money and our lives. The sovereign world of our ability to exist with life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is a violation that is tantamount to political rape. Oh, that ought to get me some email. And it is. It's an intrusion. It's an invasion. It is a penetration of our individual sovereignty and our collective sovereignty. Our founders intended for us to be able to pursue our lives in the best that we were capable of with the God-given gifts that we had, or creator-given, or natural-given. I don't care whether you're an atheist or a religious believer or just a philosopher in general. You see, they understood that in order for you to be able to live your highest and best use for your own personal survival and your own personal benefit and that of your immediate family, you had to be able to pursue your life and your liberty in a way that best fit your needs. Not some collective need, not whether or not government approves, not subject to the whims of some would-be tyrant. And what we consistently seem to have is a violation of those borders. I mean, 20 years ago, how often did you feel the press of federal government in your life? How often? 50 years ago, how desperate was the press then? You barely felt it. I mean, we saw it in things like banking and stuff like that, but for all intents and purposes, most of the problems that we had to deal with stemmed within our state governments. But the deluge, the flood of regulations, the tidal wave of limitations and regulations and intrusions and privacy breaches that we've experienced in the past 20 years has completely changed everything about our nation. We've got Clapper who comes out and says, you know, it's all just a misunderstanding between adults. If we'd have just told you guys back in 9/11, you know, right after 9/11, that we were going to monitor everything and all your email and your phone calls, you know, we wouldn't be having this problem today. So you guys should just back off a little bit and understand that it was really just a misunderstanding between consenting adults. The heck it was, Clapper. We would have told you then to get lost. The truth is, every time we allow another violation of our sovereignty, our independence, our self-governance, our self-reliance, and our ability to be in control of our own destiny, we weaken our border. It's under full assault. And, you know, the barbarian is no longer at the gates. They've come through the gates, and they're eating our children. And I, for the life of me, cannot figure out what the hell America is waiting for. I mean, at some point in time, do you think that they're going to stop raping and pillaging our neighborhoods and our towns and our villages and our cities and our population and our wives and our daughters and our children? And just stand down and put the weapons down and say, okay, everybody, let's start a brand new What exactly are y'all waiting for? Well, we're waiting for the 2014 election. That's going to really turn things around this time. That's what we heard in 2010. That's what we heard in 2012. That's what we heard in 2008, when we were going to get a fundamental change that was going to benefit everyone. Well, on the news that... Oh, sorry. False accusation. I got to tell you, folks, sometimes I feel like nobody really wants to hear the truth because that requires they take action. And they're just too doggone chicken to stand up. The tree of liberty must be watered with the blood of patriots and tyrants. Those aren't my words. Our founders, who had just come off of a terrible, terrible tyranny, recognized that there's no substitute for an angry, righteous people to stand up and expel and remove and throw off the chains of the tyrant, the rapist, the terrorist, the monster, the murderer. You wouldn't willingly sign yourself up to be a slave. So why is it that you will not sign the paper, but live under the rules of slavery anyway? You can give them access to your Twitter feed. You can give them access to your phone, your email. I can only promise you one thing. That this will end badly for America. The consistent attitude that it's going to get better in the face of overwhelming evidence that it's only getting worse, well, you know, this will end badly for America. No dominating force in history, and I'm going to leave you with this thought. No dominating force in history has ever willingly given back power that it has stolen, or relinquished that power after it has stolen it. And Supreme Court Justice Scalia the other day made a statement when asked about the issues on or surrounding the internment camps in World War II. And he made a statement that I'm going to use here as a quote. We know what happens when the dominating force of history and power get a hold of usurped authority. And to quote Scalia, you're kidding yourself if you think that this will not happen again. He was warning us about internment camps, but I think for a guy who parses his words so carefully, he knew exactly what he was saying. he was giving us a warning about more than just internment camps. You've been listening to America's Voice Now. Y'all have a great day.